Hey guys, it's Spacer Sims, and we are back with more Virche Epic Lycoris, going to wrap up Scien's encore ending by doing all the other endings. We can't really say they're bad endings, because I don't really think the one we got was like a great one, but you know, hey, more of the other bad endings. The alternate bad endings, I guess. Nothing about the encore is supposed to be anything other than trauma. So anyway, so I loaded our save file 1. We say, I've accepted my death. I feel I've accepted how my life can be of use. How your life can be of use? Dad must have heard that phrase for the first time as he replied in a tone of voice, deep in thought. Okay. Oh. This is an interesting end title. The end title of this one, we have to make a third save file in this point. Oh, later. But it's The Woman Loved by God. Science God. So wait, are you gonna save me, or are we gonna canoodle? Cause like, I'm just saying. Story of conviction. Interesting. So this is a different end already. Alright, so this might be long, but okay. Mother was the former queen and Dahut's biological mother. This is all the same. And Dahut was Mother's real son? I couldn't keep up with what was happening. Cyan, did you know about this? Knew about it. This woman was betrayed by the other members of the royal family and left for dead in the Lycoris field. I was the one who created her disguise as a reliever so she could evade capture. And that said, Cyan glared sharply at the young man who stood next to Mother. I must say I never expected you to be her son. Guess you can't underestimate me since I was able to fool you, Cyan. Well, to be honest, I had thought Mother's body had been eaten by wild beasts after what happened. Here's the thing, I know that this is technically a different chapter than the one we did, but this is all the same shit, and if all of it's gonna be, and then Eve's gonna come in and we're gonna have the same conversation, I'm gonna be annoyed because I just read this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, like, make it different, game. I understand this, but, like, also, don't make it 100%, like, it's 98% the same, because that's going to annoy the fuck out of me, so. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine we'd be reunited like this. Now that he mentioned it, the two of them seemed so alike. If she looks different as a reliever, how did you know Mother was your own mother? Well, when we first met, a member of the royal family had actually barged into the cell. It's L100%, oh, good God. Again, I know it's a different chapter, but if you're going to have the exact same text, let me skip it. How dare you, how dare you, how dare you, my children! I hate you all, you're nothing but shameless parasites infesting the country! I swear even if it costs me my life, I'll kill every last one of you bastards! I read it a little fast, but at least I got to scream it, so that was fun. I saw her anger, and I thought that sudden change of attitude and her hatred toward the royal family was definitely my mother's. I'm sorry for making such a disgraceful display in front of you, Liam. Because of that, I was able to reunite with my child, whose face I had even forgotten. For that alone, I'll give my thanks to you, Cyan. Even as she spoke, there was no hint of fondness toward him in her words. Mother, to quell their hostility, I tried to tell them that I was cooperating with Cyan of my own accord, but... I don't say anything. Oh, this is different. Cyan stopped me and gestured for the two of them to continue. Of course, I do respect you, Cyan. If the ones who need to be sacrificed were the royal family or some criminals, I definitely would have been on your side. But you declared to even sacrifice the one woman who gave her heart to you in all 80 years you've been alive. Okay, now this is slightly different. Now we veered off because we didn't say he stopped us from talking, and this is a slightly different wording of Dodds. Okay. Though different from the royal families, your ethics are also dangerous. If you take away the lives of those precious to you, then after you've undone the curse, I'm sure you won't hesitate to create more technology beyond the limits of humankind. If that's the direction this country's headed, there'll be no one who can stop you. There's even the possibility we might turn into something inhuman against our will. Is that all you have to say? His emotionless voice was frightening. As he stood in front of the stone tablet, his expression looked as normal as ever. I was curious what you had to say, since I haven't seen you this serious in so long. obviously understand all of this more than anyone else. What will come of fear for a future you can't what will come of fear for a future you can't yet see? Are you saying we should abandon those living in the present just because a terrible outcome might result? Well, cutting off Dawhood as he was about to say something, Cyan continued. No matter how right others think they are, no matter how rotten these people become, as the one who watches this world from above, I won't give up my right to save them. If I can't save them without becoming a demon, then I'll throw away my title as God and become the devil. Taken aback by his declaration, we're all like, I felt it wasn't an exaggeration to say that time stood still for a moment. A few seconds passed with the sounds of the fighting approaching us from far away. Dodd's shoulders fell with disappointment. I did hope our conversation would have changed your mind at least a little, you know? I guess you're the same as always. This kind of reasoning doesn't work on an inhuman guy like you. You're one to talk. In that case, we won't stop you through reasoning, but through emotions. Mother entered the conversation again and glared sharply at Cyan. That said, I've come back to life so many times through the gifts of reliver technology. I have no right to criticize your skills or your knowledge. Therefore, what drives me into action is a single feeling that might even make me unfit to be queen. Give me back my daughter, Cyan. It doesn't matter if she truly is death or not. For Adolphe's sake as well, I will make sure that she's happy. Mother... Against all odds, she had found someone so precious to her who then became her ally. She had found her real son, and still... The queen I knew as mother still called me her daughter, hoping that I would live. I was so happy to hear her say that. But at the same time, I also felt the guilt of taking away so many members of her family. Even now I knew I was trying to take myself away from her, and I hung my head down. I see. I suppose that's better than paying some lip service to make yourself look good, but... You still don't have a good eye for people. The one you've teamed up with was a terrible choice. What is that supposed to mean? You'll find out eventually. I don't intend on helping my enemies any more than I already have. Mother raised an eyebrow as he spoke with contempt. You really don't intend on stopping your experiment? Of course not. Above all... Cyan stopped arguing and turned to look at me in the capsule. We do get a CG in this ending, but I have a feeling it's going to be just as unhinged as the other ones. The morality of breaking the curse, the dangers that lay in the future, the emotions of deep love, all of that. Her life is mine. Whether I let her live or die, that's for me to decide. You know, normally I'd be like, what the fuck? The audacity! But no, it's fair. I'd absolutely give you my life and let you decide. I'll never give her to anyone else. You know, again, it's so sexy, even though it's, you know, not exactly how we want it to be. But good enough. He batted it all away for the single reason of wanting me to himself. Again, it's hot. It's so romantic. Even though it's not what we're just going to pretend. I'm just going to live in it, okay? I'm just going to live in my delusion land. It was as if a strong wind blew and swept everything away. Filled with inexplicable emotion, my vision, which was clouded with so much guilt, suddenly became clear and bright from his words. Right? She's over there like, I know he's not in love with me and that's not what he means, but I'm going to be deluded and just pretend because it makes me feel okay. You know, I'm here. I agree, girl. Same. High five. Mother stood there speechless at his declaration. Dodd smirked as if already knowing what he would say. Cyan, you... Let's stop, Mother. Nothing else we can say will get through to Cyan. If we want to get Spacey back, we have to be determined to kill him. As Mother stood with a mix of emotions, Dawhood stepped forward. I suppose our negotiations failed. Mother, you should leave for now and take command of the Royal Guard in disarray. I'm sure they'd be more than pleased to have a new leader who can provide them with guidance. I hoped it wouldn't come to this, but there's no choice, is there? What will you do, Liam? Well, that's obvious now, isn't it? After Dot gave an adorable laugh, I'm going to do everything I can to take over the Institute's access privileges and the system at large. This will be a one-on-one showdown between me and Cyan. Hey, that means Eve doesn't have to die. Countless screens appeared around him. Oddly, they looked exactly the same as those that Cyan currently had on display. Hearing his declaration, Cyan gave a smile of amusement. I kind of feel almost like Cyan's gonna die in this ending. I suppose I'm curious as to how much you've grown. His fingers began to slide quickly across the countless screens. I want his fingers to slide quickly across me, but maybe not quickly, but, still. Damn, I wish I were that screen. Are we gonna have to watch Salome die again? Because, speed it up. At the same moment, the Corps and the security forces were in the middle of their struggle over Spacey's recovery. What the? Was that an earthquake? They rarely happen in this country, though. With the violent shaking, fighters of both camps stopped and looked around. In the next moment... Uncle, get away! From above them, a partition that should have been stationary suddenly dropped at an alarming speed. It was as fast as a boulder being pulled down by gravity itself. Uncle may have been immortal, but he could still be pinned to the ground and crushed by the weight of it. Taking immediate action, Unko swiftly dodged out of the way. Just as Eve predicted, the wall fell at a speed that could kill any man. Or so I thought, but who's I? Who am I? Or so I thought. Who's I? We're not in, any... They would have said Eve's perspective or something. The wall suddenly stopped before it reached the floor and began rising again slowly. It creaked and shuddered as it moved up and down. Eve's face is like... The fuck? I'm so sick of this shit. He just looks over it. It was a very unnatural motion. It was as if the wall, or the Institute itself, had a mind of its own, with two sides wrestling over control of its own body, to either get in the way or to help Eve and his group. What is going on? As Uncle muttered in confusion from the broadcast system at the corner of his eye, appeared images of the two scientists surrounded by countless screens. At the same time, the jamming signal sent through the Institute weakened for a moment. I knew it'd be bad, but man, is this rough? You aren't holding back, Cyan. You picked a fight with me, of all people. Don't be whining already. I still haven't given the fight even half of my strength. The Institute groaned with every slide of their fingers, keeping everyone else in a state of stunned confusion. What are you and Cyan doing? As you can see, we're in a battle of the minds. I've managed to breach the Institute system, and I'm carving out a path to her. And does that mean you're on our side? Yeah, I just don't want Mother to cry. And Spacey's a dear, dear friend of mine. Even as he was breaking out in a cold sweat, Don had smiled, his hands refusing to stop. Alright, I got access to the eastern walls. Eve, Man in Black, hurry and head to the eastern wing. It might be a longer way around, but you'll be able to get to the laboratory far more certainly and safely. Yeah, but now you just told Cyan, so... In response to Dahut's suggestion, Eve and Anko looked at each other. It seems we have little choice but to follow. We'll get pushed back more and more, given the strength in our numbers. All right, everyone this way! Relying on their memory of the building's layout, they nodded to each other and headed toward the eastern wing. We made it, Dahut! Where should we go from here? They looked up at one of the screens floating nearby as they awaited further instructions. Yeah, very nice work. Leave the rest to me. You all just rest right there for now. What? Right as they noticed the change in Dahut's voice, the walls that surrounded them fell. What? They tried racing toward a wall, but it was too far away for them to make it. Ultimately, the walls didn't lead them to Spacey, but stopped them from moving forward or escaping. So, Daw rerouted them and trapped them? Interesting. I was frozen in place, not fully understanding what had just happened. Daw! What do you think you're doing? Daw's innocent laughter reached Eve and the others as they stood in shock. I'm so sorry, I'm just so busy with Cyan right now that I didn't want to have to deal with more enemies. So I'll just have y'all stay put for now until my experiment's over. Even Anko's eyes widened at Dahut's mention of the word experiment. Are you fighting against Cyan to save her? Of course not. He happens to be another inhuman monster that I hold in high regard. With a look of annoyance, Cyan continued to manipulate the system as he offered an answer to the others. So does that mean... Dahut's expression was twisted beautifully. It's just what you're thinking, Man in Black. My plan is simply inconvenient to him because it's directed by me. He's trying to do the same thing. He merely distracted the old woman with her task to keep her from interfering with his plan. No! If he wants to lift the curse, why would he need to fight against you, Cyan? I was so confused by Dahut's sudden change. Well, the salvation that Cyan's offering also saves the morally bankrupt non-humans of this country who cause the suffering of others without a second thought. Before the curse is lifted, those who are to be saved must first be filtered in. If people with twisted ideals like the royal family survive, this country will be a disaster. Yeah, so he's like, Cyan's right, but I want a genocide as well. Filter. The word wasn't suited for use with humans, making me feel a cold chill down my spine. I thought my final opponent would be Karun. But even the others were imprisoned, now unable to get to the laboratory. I see. This is also interesting in its own way. Regardless of whether I win or Dahut does, you'll still die. Wait. In that case, use me as your test subject, Dahut. Cyan Brofeast. I was frozen in shock as Anko's desperate pleas reached my ears in a voice I had never heard from him before. Anko? He smashed his fist against the wall as he shouted. I've been absorbing the Lycoris noirs in my body in order to create a defense against the toxin. Even if it isn't perfect, it's still close. I should have antibodies in my blood. If you use them to make an antidote, you won't have to sacrifice Spacey. They're both like, wait. An antibody to the toxins. Was that his plan to make me into a normal person? It made sense. If we had that, we wouldn't have to bury me in the soil like a Lycoris. With time, I was sure we'd be able to undo the curse. But... denied! If only there was time for the research to develop the antidote. Huh? Besides Anko, who stood there bewildered. I don't mean to say I'm okay with sacrificing Anko, but you hate making pointless sacrifices, so if you're denying an option that doesn't kill anyone, there must be some reason you can't examine Anko's blood, right? As a cold sweat slid down Eve's face, Cyan smirked in response. As expected, you're quick to figure it out. The reason is this situation itself. Most of the royal family's dead, so now is what is essentially a civil war between my and Dahut's factions. Do you really think we have time to wait for imperfect antibodies to be developed into an antidote? I see. You want to save as many people as possible, and Dawn aims to save a select few. Your objectives are in conflict. Until either side admits defeat, this fight won't end. Right. Take at least half a year. In the meantime, the war will worsen and the Institute will be reduced to ruins. And it would take time to rebuild Reliver technology if it was... and it would take time to rebuild Reliver technology if it was destroyed in the process, right? Cyan and I are close enough to 23 that we'd die during all the cleanup we'd have to do. Never mind the antidote. Considering that, we'll have a much more certain result using her to weaken the curse within the month. You can be examined at a later time. For just an instant, Uncle bit his lip in response to Cyan and Dahid's answers, but then, I'll never accept that sort of reasoning. Uncle's angry shout came through the transmission. No god or demon has the right to take away Spacey's freedom to live. She has the right to live a normal life and find normal happiness. Not in this world. There's no such thing as normal happiness in this world. He was fixated on saving my life. His anguish and desperation. I heard something like it before. Oh, good for them. I was missing wow, Uncle reminds me of someone. I was missing that. That's what we've been missing in this whole entire thing. I could see his face on the brink of tears. I reached my hand out, about to shout the name that appeared in my head. She was going to say Adolphe. I see. That's a shame. However, I don't have the time to deal with you all while fighting Cyan. Until this is all over, just take some time to relax there, okay? Wait! Before he could even finish, the conversation was forcefully cut off. The only screen that remained was the one that showed Dahut. Can't be... I lowered my hand, which was unable to reach its destination, and squeezed the memento I had of Adolphe. So she literally just was like, wow, you're like Adolphe. Did you literally just piece that together? She's more of a genius in this one than she's ever been before. Like, she's got a clue. She does not have a grasp on linguistics, don't get me wrong. She's going to left and right, but... Now, no one else will interrupt our head-to-head fight. And Spacey, I have a proposition I'd like to offer you as well. A proposition? Dahut nodded. If you want to resist Cyan and buy more time until the experiments on you are carried out, I'll use all the power I have to save you. It was a dignified declaration befitting of royalty. I mean, honestly, like, Dahut, but you just admitted that you just want to, like, slaughter a bunch of people. And, like, you're basically, like, Arpachel's Hitler. So, like, even if my boyfriend wasn't on the other at odds with you, like, I mean, I might have to agree if the roles were reversed and our boyfriend was the one who was like, fuck everyone, I'm gonna kill the masses. You know, I'd be like, well, I don't really want to side with Hitler over here, but, you know, but like really, you got nothing, Dahut. You got nothing going for you right now. You know? If someone's going to kill me, it's going to be my boyfriend over here, because, hi, hello, have you seen him? And also, at least he's trying to do it to save everyone. Not just the people he thinks should be on his arc. You know what I'm saying? Psychopants. In answer to his proposal, I have like oh god, my freaking side hurts so bad right now. What the hell? Okay, so this time we say, I already understand. I can't do that. I'm cooperating with Cyan with full understanding of the situation. I see. But with this one decision, you'll be able to die a painless death, you know? Huh? At Dahut's remark, Cyan stopped as if to allow him to continue. Cyan's rushing through his work so that no one can interrupt his experiment. In other words, he doesn't have the capacity to consider the burden of pain being put on you. Well, Cyan did tell me that once the experiment began, I'd be in considerable pain. Right, but if I were to win this fight, while I'm filtering people out, I'd be able to prepare appropriately and send you off with the least amount of pain possible. These weren't just terms of a negotiation. I could hear his genuine consideration for me as a friend, and perhaps as a sibling, albeit one of fairly distant connection. A painless death. Yeah, but, again, you want to, like, listen. As death, I had come to witness so many deaths up until now. A painless death would be nice, don't get me wrong, we all want that, but what you're offering me is a painless death, and you're just gonna destroy, like, I mean, the corrupt royal family, you've already murdered them, so, you know? So I knew all too well how painful it was to die from being consumed by the toxins. Maybe you should get, like, a real legal system. In fact, I'd absorb even more toxins because my allelopathy would be strengthened. I was sure my death would be even more horrible than the ones I had seen. It was possible I'd die like a beast, groaning in pain, unable to form any words. As I stood there, unsure of what to do, I looked at Cyan. He would restrain me immediately if I tried to resist, so I knew it was useless to ask for his opinion. But dauntlessly, without hesitation, "Do what you want. What happens won't change in any case." That was all he said. I looked up at the moving images of the inside of the building floating around Cyan. There was Mother rushing about to rally the royal guard, as well as Eve and Anko, who were attacking the walls in effort to escape. All of it was to save me, death. Should I really wish to live? There were people who wanted me to live. There were people fighting to save me. These facts made me indescribably happy. No matter how much I hated myself, I couldn't deny this was all happening. But despite that, in fact, because of that, I will stay here. I turned down the king's proposal. What? The king was stunned, and the god smiled. Spacey, do you understand what you're saying? If you remain there, you'll die just like the criminals you saw there before. I know you might think you've done something unforgivable, but I'm sorry, that's not it. This is what I want. To be honest, I'd like to live. I'd like to live to thank and give back to those who protected me, those who wished for me to be alive. But if I have to die, regardless of the outcome, I wish to be used by Cyan, no matter what sort of terrible pain awaits me. I managed to hear Dahut call me crazy in a whispered murmur. Yes, I really am. I mean, have you seen Cyan? He makes me crazy, too. Love was blind, as they said. Uh-huh. It's not blind, because I see that beautiful face over there looking at me like, oh, good, my specimen, as he's about to torture me to death, and I'm totes fine with it. Love is stupid. It's not blind, it's stupid. However, if I did have to give up my life, I'd rather give it to him because I was certain he would live up to his promise. Well, you heard her. Now that your persuasion tactics have failed, you can come get her by force. Well, no matter what you try, I have no intention of handing her over. I see. Any further attempts to convince her are useless, then. Dahut, or rather His Majesty, slumped his shoulders at my answer. That was what I thought at first, but his eyes widened and he took in a deep breath. Then I must defeat Cyan Brofist with my own hands. Now that the true ruler and heir is returned, Arbishel no longer needs a god nor a demon. Just try it if you can. Let's not drag this out. Let's just get it over with, okay? Because it's basically going to be essentially the same thing, but he's going to fight Dahut instead of Eve. And then the ending will be different, but like, okay. But you know what I mean? We don't need to drag it out. Dahut returned to controlling his panels as Cyan slid his fingers across his own. However, what was different now was that the capsule surrounding me began to shake with his movements. Now that Karun's restrained, I can fight Dahut while also beginning the experiment. If I can transform you into the perfect manifestation of the Lycoris before they get here, I win. Right. After seeing me nod back, the man with both godly and demonic sides smiled. Now that you've made your declaration, I hope you won't start crying, no matter how much pain you're in. He seemed to relish the beginning of his battle to part with me forever. The screens of the system seemed as if they were alive, appearing one instant before disappearing with a deadly scream the next. Oh, I see he's created his own infiltration program. Its processing speed is impressive. Then I'll just need to fight in a similar way. Engage the systems on my personal server. Process the experiment and attack. I'll take care of the detailed operations. Acknowledged. Numbers and code ran from top to bottom of some screens at unbelievable speed. I was sure Dahut and Cyan were fighting through them, but I didn't have the capacity to think about that right now. An inexplicable pain and heat overtook my entire body. My genes, which constructed my whole body, though I didn't understand how, I knew they were changing me into an entirely different being. It hurt. It burned. I was in pain. Even though I was prepared for this, I couldn't stop myself from screaming. That said, Cyan didn't seem distracted by my screams and calmly continued his work. but... As Queen Christine Revapla, I hereby command you! Defeat Cyan Prophys, the traitor who calls himself a god, and take back my daughter! From one screen, I could hear Mother give orders as the queen. The surviving members of the Royal Guard crashed into the Institute's security forces. Apologies, Director! We can't keep back this many of the Royal Guard! If I bring down any more walls, I won't be able to operate as I need. Fine, I'll give the commands as I work. Break apart the Royal Guard's formation and attack each individually to... Wondering what could have caused the entire Institute to shake like that, I looked up at another screen to see... Well, we were waiting for him the whole other part to come through, but here he is. Boro? He was attacking the walls that held even the others inside. It was as if he was trying to help them. I did imagine this might happen, but now, of all times... A bead of sweat ran down Cyan's face. Executing several tens of thousands of processes in a matter of seconds, he couldn't even blink. The experiment, intercepting attacks, and on top of that, dealing with the resistance from even the others breaking free. I couldn't even imagine the strain on his mind right now. Cyan... I couldn't stop myself from worrying about him, and I tried to call out despite my pain when... Within me, I could feel the black bud of a flower about to sprout. Every single part of my body hurt. I could barely breathe. I even felt as if the black flower in my chest was taking all of my blood for its nourishment. Unable to hold it in, I coughed up some blood and collapsed. Within the span of a second, for some reason, Cyan's movement stopped. Error. Boundary 2 of the active program has been breached by an unauthorized external process. Immediate intervention by the program administrator is required. Repeat. Error. The program's being infiltrated? I asked, my consciousness still hazy. I forced myself to look up and saw Cyan hurriedly dealing with the errors being announced. I can't believe I let this happen. He got into the inner levels in an instant. But no matter what he tried, the number of bright red screens didn't go down in number. In fact, as if to ridicule Cyan for letting his guard down for just the slightest moment, they continued increasing. Following that came a small crack, appearing in the capsule that held me inside. Even though I was barely conscious from the pain, I knew that Cyan was at a disadvantage. More beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. No, baby, don't die on me. He's gonna die, isn't he? Maybe we'll die together. And his face didn't have its usual collected composure. I could feel the presence of the young king tearing down the foundation of the god from far away, bit by bit. Well, we won't have to live in the fucking world that Dahood's gonna create, so it's alright. We'll be dead with Cyan. I didn't like it. Not the idea of dying, but to have Cyan's resolve to use me as his test subject be made pointless. After acknowledging my value as a human being... Black blood welled in my eyes. While thinking to myself that I was barely even human anymore after seeing this change. Cyan... I desperately tried to look up, coughing up more blood as I spoke his name. What? Leave any last words you have for later. He looked my way as he complained. Even though my voice would only get in the way of his fight, he looked my way simply because I called out to him. To answer this simple woman... I knew it. I just couldn't help it. I love you. Please, use me. I love you, please use me. Those are exactly the things I want to say to him. And don't... Please, don't give me to anyone else. I also want to say that to him. Even I was surprised by how hoarse my voice was. But in response to my pitiful request, I felt he heard what I had to say. I heard the sound of something dripping. Red liquid began to stain the sterile floor of the laboratory, the place meant to be the source of everyone's salvation. Who just got stabbed? Was it me? I had thought it was what came out of my own mouth, but it wasn't. Did someone sneak in and stab Cyan? I desperately tried to see through my blackened vision at the reality of what was happening. And there was Cyan, stained in red. Who stabbed my boyfriend? With terrifyingly calm eyes. He was looking down at the massive amounts of blood pouring from his left arm. Did we just chop his arm off? Because that happened once before. But I can see it. It's attached to his body. He would most certainly die from losing that much blood if he wasn't treated immediately. In his right hand was a beautifully ornate dagger. Cyan? There were no enemies in the laboratory, yet he still had a weapon in hand. Did he just cut himself? Did he do that himself? Right, that's what I'm asking. Why? Why? I was speechless, not knowing why he did what he did.
I give you my thanks. Because of you, I was able to clear my head.
He wiped the cold sweat from his brow and replied boldly, looking like his usual self again.
Now that I think of it, it was a mistake to think I could save everyone without being hurt. If I'm to use your life and sacrifice it for my own ideals, then I too have to be ready to pay a suitable price myself.
He replied to me, without any trace of fear regarding his approaching death. He stared straight back at me as I lay there dying, raising his bloodied arm. Did you just, willingly, sorta almost kill yourself for me? Because that's crazy. But, okay. Huh.
I will wager my life to make this experiment succeed. So don't worry about anything anymore. My tribute to you is to show you the light of my complete victory in your final moments.
Suddenly, that's he's like, if I'm not willing, I'm giving you up, and I'm also willing to die if I don't make this work. You would have anyway, but, the fact that you're going to do it yourself and not, let Dahud kill you. Okay, sure. It's a little fucking bonkers, but Cyan's bonkers, so. The crystallization of his intellect filled the lab in the form of bright screens. The overwhelming spectacle was all I could see through my fading vision. It's almost like he was like I was the wrong kind of obsessed. Now I'm the right kind of obsessed. I just had to stab myself to get myself there. Okay. Crazy? Maybe it brought a little more of Cyan back instead of, crazy Cyan. It's more normal Cyan, who's still also crazy, by the way. At the center of them all was their ruler Cyan, smiling confidently. And I'm sure the CG we're going to get is him covered in blood, because, whatever.
I use everything I have. No, more than that, and prepare to burn out my mind in order to rebuild the system. If you're going to try and defeat me, then be prepared to die as well, duh.
He proceeded without hesitation to take control over countless windows of the system, more than I had ever seen before. This one just keeps going. Okay. Are we gonna get to an end? All right, we kind of need to wrap it up a little. My advantageous position was overturned with his declaration. The program I had built for so long in order to surpass him. He's fast. Too fast. He was being suppressed by several 100 million processes and began breaking bit by bit. Took everything I had just to understand how fast he was working. So this is Cyan's true strength. And all this time, I'd always thought deep inside that his title as a god was nothing more than a metaphor, not to be taken seriously. It was true he had godlike talent and intellect, but a true god would be much more grand and fickle. With no warning at all, they'd unleash disasters upon humankind that would change our very foundation. And he was only capable of simply keeping the same state to continue on forever. But I was completely wrong. He was capable of far more than that. While possessing the powers of a god, he also possessed the desire to shape the world as he saw fit, and the conviction to carry it out. I can only call him something that surpassed God. I could almost feel myself about to laugh. In the end, as I was a genius only within the boundaries of humankind, I was no match for him. However, I had a hunch as a fellow scientist. This amount of processing wasn't something a human mind could withstand. Which meant that he didn't have any energy to spare and was desperately fighting against me on the other side of the screen. Cyan wouldn't normally push himself that far. The one who took his pride away and pushed him to desperation was Spacey. Cyan was fighting like mad in order to kill her. Usually it'd be the other way around. However, that seemed to be what their relationship was like. I mean, fair. Well, I was gonna lose. I definitely would at this rate. Knowing that somehow made it feel even more exciting. One and only Cyan Brothes. You recognized me as a capable opponent and was pulling out all the stops to take me down. I felt that it was the greatest compliment, not as the king, but as the scientist, Dahut. That was why I smiled, why my heart beat so loudly. They're both a little unhinged, but I love it. Why I could fight back with everything I had. That slob of a man on the other side of the screen who would always run Dahut ragged had grown this much even as a reliver. I'll keep fighting back as someone worthy of being your successor. I'd hang on to God with all my might and leave as many scars on him as I could. This ending has been like 40 minutes on its own, Jesus. Then when the last screen turned violet, I let out a sigh, looking up to the heavens. I've lost. I raised both hands in the air and collapsed onto my back. The system screens that were displayed so quickly suddenly fell silent. Wow. Though we knew Dahut's attacks had stopped, Cyan's face was still a pale blue color. His body wouldn't survive if it wasn't treated immediately. With complete disregard for his own injury.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
While still bleeding, he walked over to the capsule I was in. His eyes, staring right at me, had a beautiful fervor to them that refused to fade away. I could almost feel my blood boiling inside me. Felt like I would die the instant I tried moving any of my joints. But, I just had to speak to Cyan in my final moments. I desperately tried to pick myself up and run towards Cyan. In his hand was a single display screen.
This is the finishing touch. If I execute this command, the experiment will be over. You'll have blossomed into a Lycoris that's been selectively bred.
So that means... Cyan nodded.
After the blood necessary to create your clones has been retrieved from the capsule, your chromosomes will be tainted by the toxins and you'll suffer a painful death.
I see. It really did feel scary now that the moment had arrived. But I was the one who wanted him to use me. I'm so glad the one who found me as their subject was you, Cyan. Please, make this world into one where the ones I love can live peacefully. I struggled to keep my body from shaking as I spoke. With that, Cyan put his finger over the last command he had to make. All that was left was for him to touch it. Aw, flashback to the sandwich, CG. Once he did, it would all be over. Oh, there's him doing that puzzle. Excuse me? Why does it feel like... Excuse me. Why did we change this CG? Because I'm pretty sure in the original, we saw some hip and we were like, look at this slut. And then, like, now his shirt and his pants are, like, meeting and there's no, like, sexy, slutty hip. What's that? What's the deal with that? What the fuck? Am I crazy? Did we not see some, like, skin in the original? This brilliantly shining person would have saved everyone. Rude.
I see. So that's it, huh?
Cyan's finger stopped. And with his empty hand, he reached out toward the capsule I was in. Cyan? I didn't know what he was intending to do, but thinking I had to respond in kind, I reached out my own shaking hand to Cyan. Oh my god, are we gonna have, like, touching hands through the capsule fucking CG? Without looking the least bit annoyed. With his right hand still over the screen, Cyan responded with his empty left hand. A pulse. I felt as if I could feel Cyan's heartbeat from his open hand on the capsule.
I realized just now, if, in the beginning, I hadn't tried to research how to endure the
curse,
but how to undo it directly, I might not have needed to make you into a sacrifice and simply kept you as a maid. But I suppose it's too late for that.
I wondered what was wrong. He's all of a sudden, oh, are you like realizing that you love me a little? It was so odd for Cyan to talk about possibilities that couldn't come true anymore.
Yes, this is my first and final mistake. Because I couldn't fight against the curse without offering you as a sacrifice. It's just as Dahat says. I've fallen and become something other than a god.
That's not true.
It is. I don't need any pity for it. However, I swear that I will still save Arpachel. Not as part of the duty as the overseer of this land, nor from the simple pride of a false god. But as a promise to you as you die here, I swear I'll never lose my way again.
He was so earnest in his vow. How is this not a better ending than the other one? Because, like, we're gonna die and everything, but this is so romantic right now. He's like, shit, if I had thought for half a fucking second, I might have been able to do something without sacrificing you, but now I sacrificed you and kind of thinking that was a bad idea because I kind of love you. Shit, what? Yeah! Oh! I don't think he realizes that his, like, oh, wait. I don't know if he realizes it, but still, it's there. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna live in Delulu Land. I whispered back my gratitude. At some point, the pain and heat disappeared. In its place was an intense cold. A sensation of my body slowly melting away spread through my arms, and I was no longer able to feel Cyan's warmth. But I'm glad. In my last moments, he was willing to value his life a little. For someone who had more vitality flowing from him than anyone else, this being who was as dazzling as a god, that's more than enough. I was all right. I wasn't afraid anymore. As I gave thanks and apologies to all the people who were a part of my life, use me, I pleaded to him one more time. And with that, his right index finger, which was removed from the screen, returned to its original position. I could hear my own heart and pulse weakening. The last beats that signaled my farewell to him. After Cyan checked the position of the command so as not to miss it, I saw myself reflected in his beautiful eyes.
Just as you say you were happy I found you. I'm glad you became my specimen.
That is like the most romantic thing he's ever said to us.
Goodbye. Smile for me as you go, Spacey.
Again, that, like, how is this not... This is better than the original one, I'm sorry. I didn't have the strength to speak anymore. So I gave the biggest smile I could muster, although I could only imagine what I'd look like in his eyes. Cyan returned the most gentle smile I had ever seen from him. Like, that is so tragic, but it's so beautiful. I was sure I wasn't mistaken in what I did. Goodbye. You were so bright and dazzling. I, Death, was so happy to have met the light that was Cyan Brophy's. That is so ridiculously romantic for a tragic end. I'm just saying, that one to me was better than the original one. Because, like, it was so, like, beautiful. And he, like, the other one was like, okay, whatever, killed her. Like, he gave no fucks. And this one, he got back some of his humanity and actually, like, was like, ah, fuck, I fucked up. But, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh.
6 months later, this is the story of how the toxins in Arpachel were weakened from the newly blossoming Lycoris. Just as Dahat and I imagined, Arpachel, now in civil unrest, was under constant fighting. A fight with the royal family broke out over the seizure of data and the subjects I had produced. As a result, Reliver technology was destroyed. I was able to execute my plan because of the week-long truce the old bag offered out of fear that more citizens would be harmed.
Except for, like, in this one, there's a civil war and, like, whatever, but we got a romantic kind of ending.
Dawood, who essentially betrayed her, now had disappeared, unable to stay with the royal family. I was certain he was sitting back and observing whether or not I'd really be able to undo the curse. The old woman was now working as the new ruler, controlling widespread unrest and re-educating the citizens on ethics. As for the present, I was waiting for some experimental results in front of a device I had recovered. Initiating clone body culturing using existing somatic cells. Constructing heart for memory installation.
I feel like that's not Cyan, that should have been the machine, but whatever. Defense system added to heart. Initiating installation of backup data to brain. Success. Difference from original confirmed at 0%. Initiating clone sequence. Did he clone me? Did he clone me? Hmm?
I took long strides toward the sample that awoke from the culture fluid. You're awake. I think the memory download completed without issue, but it seems she's not fully awake.
Did he clone us? Because it's kind of like, why is this not the first ending? This one's like, it's tragic and sad, but it's still beautiful. And like, look at him, he remade us because he loves us. So adorable.
I threw my lab coat at her and asked a question. Do you remember me? Try saying my name. The sample in front of me tilted her head in confusion, opening her lips slightly as she answered, unsure of herself.
Oh. Oh. Oh my god, he did clone us. Oh, look at the CG. Look at him. God damn, he's tall. You're Cyan. Cyan Brophies?
I nodded my head in confirmation at the sample that spoke like a child just learning to speak. Right, and your name is Spacey. The last specimen I'll have sacrificed. She blinked her eyes the same color as my own. Her confused expression looked almost the same as when we first met. I couldn't help but laugh. Seemingly confused by my actions, the girl timidly asked a question.
Why did you download memories into me? The experiment to make us Lycorises was successful, right?
Right. Your clones are continuing to absorb the toxins as we speak. I've also been able to extend my lifespan. Once Onco's antibodies are processed, I'll be able to develop an antidote.
So why... bringing me to a state of how I was when I was alive won't be of any benefit, right?
True. I suppose part of it was because of how annoying the Watchman would be otherwise.
I love that he's like, yeah, Onco made me do it, instead of like, because I fucking love you and I missed you? Oh, stop it! I'm gonna cry.
But I wondered why myself.
No, you know why, you idiot!
I couldn't understand why, right before the original died, I suddenly made a backup of her memories. There was one definitive reason I could give as to why I brought her back.
Just say it. Say it so I can cry. Okay. I should not have expected any different from Cyan.
I couldn't find a maid as convenient as you.
Huh?
Spacey's stunned expression contained no passion for me whatsoever. Of course not. That wasn't common knowledge to anyone living in this country. When you become a reliver, in exchange for a longer life, you lose any love you once had. But... Spacey's body shook with a small laugh, causing the lab coat covering her body to slightly slip down her shoulders.
That's such a selfish reason. We haven't met in so long, but you haven't changed at all from the data and the memories, have you?
The way she so oddly enjoyed how I treated her hadn't changed either. I'll take that as a compliment. More importantly, if your memory's all there, then let's go. Get dressed in these. I threw some clothes I randomly put together at her.
Huh? Where are we?
The Lycoris field. They turned an interesting color because the toxins have been thinned out. I'll show you while catching you up on everything. Spacey stared at me as I spoke, silently hanging on to the clothes. Things are going to start getting busy now. I'll have you watch beside me as I save Arpachel. After my declaration, I grabbed Spacey's arm just as she was about to nod.
Oh! Oh my god! Oh. Spacey's really gonna fucking die and cry. Oh shit! How ridiculously... Why is this one not the first ending you get? It's so much better! Oh my god! I can't handle it! There really are actual tears in my eyes. I love it so much. Shit! What is wrong with me today? Oh, I don't know. Oh, dear God, I can't read because I can't see. My eyes are watery.
And brought my lips to her cheek in a kiss, just barely grazing her.
She looks so goofy, but in a cute way. Like, sometimes, like, when they make the main character look doofy, you're like, why does she look stupid? Like, she looks so doofy, but it's kind of adorable. Like, I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like, she looks good. Like, goofy. Huh?
A smile slowly broke across her face, even though she didn't understand what had just happened.
I understand what happened and I'm dying.
Just a gesture of greeting. Now that you're revived, your first love will be me.
That's so fucking adorable. Stop it. Guys, I can't. I thought these were going to be bad endings. How is this? Oh, I'm sorry. I bumped my microphone while I'm trying to wipe my eyes. Oh my god.
I stared intently at her artificial eyes as I spoke. She looked up at me with a confused face, as if to say she didn't know how to respond to the actions of a man she felt nothing for.
But the thing is in her memories, she knows that she loved us.
But it didn't matter. I just need to make her fall for me again. And I'd do anything it took to make that happen. I wanted Spacey to look at me with yearning and have her all to myself. What?
When you say you want me to fall in love with you, do you mean that when I was a regular person you loved me too?
Huh? Of course not.
Huh? But you just...
I still don't have any romantic feelings for you. But the one you fall in love with must be me. That's all there is to it. Eventually things may change as I improve memory capacity in the hopes of retaining her old memories.
Her old emotions, sorry.
After readjusting the coat draped over her, Spacey smiled, her eyes matching mine.
Feels like you really are Cyan, yet also not quite. As you are right now, I wonder, are you a god or a demon?
Well, I suppose in a way answering that question was more difficult than developing reliver technology. If I had to give an answer, I'm just someone who's dragged along by the life of a certain girl. Not a god nor a demon, just a human being named Cyan Brophies. I wouldn't stop moving. Taking this convenient maid with me, I faced a future without the curse and began to walk forward.
This ending is like the best fucking one we've ever had. For an encore? Look at this!
The first and last victim. I never expected you to be so special. It's going to be interesting to see whose emotions will turn into love first. Yours or mine?
Yours already kind of did. I love that. Do you mean you love me? Hell no, I don't have emotions, but you better fall in love with me. You still have... God. You were so ridiculous and adorable, and this was the best fucking ending. Why? I get it because the other one was probably quicker to get to, and then this one had an additional save file or whatever. Because that was just... Okay, but this one was so much better. This one should have been the one you get to first. I'm sorry. Why? Okay, so sometimes we notice this in the... Oh, God. Notice this in the... in 9 Rip, right? When we're playing that one, that Otome Kitten sometimes, depending on the ending she likes better, because there's heavenly endings and godly endings. They're both good endings, but some are depending better than others. Hold on, I'm going to give the bird a break while we're chatting about this, and because he's getting fidgety. Well, you just started stretching because you were napping, and now you started stretching, so I'm going to try to stand. Oh my god. My legs are before we... Okay, hold on. You know what I mean? And we kind of noticed that sometimes the ones with most affection, like, she'll put the ending first that she likes best. Like, because they're both good endings. One has slightly more affection than the other. So one's, like, super good, and the other one's just good. And it's all a matter of perspective which one you like the best. So, you know, sometimes she'll be like, she didn't like the best ending. She liked the second best ending better, so she'll put that one first. So you never know, depending on when you're doing the guide, you don't know which one you're gonna get. And that's the same kind of, I feel like, with this. It's like, why? Has it been like that for the other ones? Where the okay ending we've gotten first, and then the, oh my god, this is the better version? Like, because I'm sitting here like, why the hell wouldn't this one have been the first one? I want to know the logic behind this. Like, I guess to be fair, I'm glad, because I was like, okay, we're all going to die, Cyan's going to die, whatever. I did not see this ending coming, and I am so glad I didn't. I mean, I know it's not perfect, because, like, we died, but, like, this is the best we can expect for the encore ending where everything's tragic. That was the best outcome we could have expected in this scenario, and it was fucking amazing. I'm here for it 100%. I love it. Again, it's not like the bestest ending we could have ever gotten ever in the game. Maybe, I mean, you know what I mean? But, like, for the way that story was playing out, that's the best that we could expect. And that was exceeded any expectations I have, but I also didn't expect it to be good. I was like, oh, this is going to be tragic. You know? But, like, the first one we got was like, okay, that one's bad. Okay, that's a little sad and, you know, bittersweet. You're like, okay, because it's like, oh, he feels bad sacrificing us, but, like, you know, whatevs, and he did, and okay. And then this one, it was like, he, like, really didn't want to, and then realized he made a mistake and was like, whatever, and then brought us back because he wants us to love him because he misses us, but he can't admit it. Oh! My heart. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. So, like, to be fair, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't the first one, but I am very confused as to why. I mean, maybe it's because you have to create the third save file, but I would have said that one should have been first. But you know what? Whatever. Now let's do the bad ends and ruin that. It won't ruin it. Anyway, that won't happen. Well, that's not true. Cyan's a man who's willing to risk everything to save people. Okay. And now they're arguing. Okay, now Mother's coming out and going to attack people. Capucine's going to kill her. Aight. Obviously, this one's going overtime because that ending took an hour on its own to do. They're having their, like, bitch fight battle. Okay. Eve's coming in. Eve and Cyan are fighting. There's Cyan looking all crazy. And I was expecting the CG that came with that one to be, like, bloody or whatever. Not as beautiful as that was. When we first got it, I was like, oh my god, okay, that's a good one. It's far away and, like, through a screen. And then the kiss part. Kill me now. I love it. Okay, Ongo's not dead. Ongo ran through the hallway that reeked of iron. He had no more ammunition as he fought with numerous genetic clones on his way here. Even so, please make it in time. Telling himself there had to be something he could do, he continued forward. Okay, okay, wild card. What filled his mind were wishes for the safety of the girl he promised to protect and the friend to whom he entrusted her life. He believed that Eve would be the one who could save Spacey from Cyan Brophy's. In the history he witnessed previously, Eve and the demon would cut each other down and Eve would die in front of him. He didn't want either Spacey or Eve to die. We both did, though. This time, I'll give those two a future they can both live in. Making his vow to himself, he opened the door to see... I'm sorry. Oh my god, the lab's on fire. This is different. Ooh, mistaken salvation is the end of this one. Ow! Eve with his throat slit wide open by a dagger. I'm not gonna cuddle you. You you bit very hard. That's not nice, you not nice boy. Huh. As he stood there in shock, Eve's body was kicked across the floor like garbage, stopping at Anko's feet. Eve's sunset-colored eyes were clouded and black, and reflected a hazy image of Anko, who was frozen in shock. No. He slowly looked up.
I win, Karun! Now that I've killed you, my biggest obstacle, there's no one who can stop me.
The center of the burning flames was Cyan Brophy's, covered in blood as he laughed like a madman, and everything is on fire in the room. In a capsule behind him was Spacey, collapsed inside. Spacey! Rushing to Spacey, he dragged her out of the broken capsule. However, her eyes were wide open. Blood trickled from her mouth. There were traces of her scratching away at her throat. It was easy for Anko to see the girl he had loved had died after enduring excruciating pain. How could this happen? Anko lamented, holding Spacey in disbelief of the events that had unfolded.
Now I can focus on my research in peace. It's time for the people of Arpachel to truly evolve into a new form.
This king of demons, announced his own birth. Far from changing history for the better, everything fell apart as a result of his actions. Faced with the reality that he created the worst being that could possibly exist. If this had to happen, should I have just let her go after her first moment of despair? Anko regretted the journey he had undertaken until now. The Demon King looked his way in response.
I must ask you refrain from touching the Lycoris meant for my act of salvation.
Anko had no more will to fight. As his head came off, his arms released the body of the girl he wished to protect above all else. Well, the plans for salvation would be a success. Arpachel would soon be released from its curse, making it into a normal country. However, that would only be after it brought chaos to the world through error salvation. Don't you look at my toes like you're going to bite them. Okay. Tragic. We knew. That one was mistaken salvation, and this is going to be a consumable body. But even if you save me, you'll still use me in your experiments, right? I skipped that as I was reading it. Yeah, that's right. Think of it as being able to live a few months longer. Okay. So now they're going to have their bitch fight. Okay, cool. All right. We can probably skip to the next unread section, but like whatever at this point. Whatever. All right, so okay, now he's still having his moment of like clarity where he cuts himself again because it's the same like scene. Okay. I heard an unnatural sound come from the laboratory door. What the fuck is this? Okay, I'm sorry. I heard an unnatural sound come from that, and then the next scene, laboratory door is where a name's supposed to be. That is ridiculous. The moment I noticed the sound, the door was already broken and flying apart in pieces. Here's Lucas. Out from beyond it jumped a figure. Which swung a blade down onto the capsule I was in, breaking it. After I spilled out of the large crack that was made, Cyan quickly picked me up and pulled me away at once. And there, landing firmly on the destroyed capsule, was, don't you dare look at my toes, I have my foot underneath my leg. My bird's sitting on my leg, but he can see my toes, and he's trying to lean down and bite my toes. Don't you bite my toes, jackass? He hates toes. Like if I'm after I get out of the shower, I put my foot up on my counter to dry my legs, and he will, if he's sitting on I throw up another towel sometimes on my towel bar, because where it is like my shower and then my bathtub and then the towel bar's on the wall. So it's like, you can't get out of the shower and then drip walking across the room. You have to like hang your towel on the back of the door. But he likes to sit on warm my towels because in my old apartment, I had a shower tub combo thing, and then the towel bar was right outside. So he'd sit there and keep my towel warm for me. Not that his body really does it, but just okay, let him, that's his job. He does a good job even though he's very tiny. Shh, just let him think, okay? Okay, we just let him he's not paying attention. We'd let him have the delusions that he's doing something. But anyway. So he thinks he's my towel warmer. But like I can't do that in this my house that I live in now. So like I hang my towel on the back of the door on a hook. So I'll put up an older towel or whatever. I throw up something else for him to sit on. He will fly down from that onto the counter and beeline to bite my fucking toes if I'm trying to like dry my leg off. Because like I'm old. I'm not bending over and getting fucking blood flow to my brain. Like I will put my foot up on the counter to do it. So I have to put my towel over my foot to dry. Otherwise, and then he attacks the towel because he hates toes. You know. Is that why you won't let me touch your toes? I'm going to grab you and touch your toes. Touching your toes. I'm touching your toes now. Yeah, you don't like it when I touch your toes. I don't like it when you bite mine. Jerk. Mean. Anyway. And there, landing firmly on the destroyed capsule was... Boro. He stood in front of Cyan wielding a giant halberd. Yeah, but it's Lucas. Or unless it's one of Lucas's clones. I don't know if Lucas is dead in this one.
So, I see you left Karun and his friends to stop the enemy yourself. Not a bad decision. You want to know where your precious minister is that badly? Or perhaps you came here to rescue her?
Boro didn't say anything. Instead, he readied his halberd in an instant and jumped right at us. Still holding me, Cyan dodged his attack. However, he couldn't fight back in this state. The only thing Cyan can do while holding me is almost literally dead weight. Was to dodge the swinging blade at the last moment before he could be chopped to pieces.
He's aiming at just my feet. Seems like he's not here to kill you.
Why? It would be easier to aim for me if he wanted to stop Cyan's plan.
I'm sure his objective isn't to recover his minister, but you. Considering he's also cooperating with Karun, he might actually be someone you know personally.
As if to confirm Cyan's claim, Boro gripped his halberd with even more strength. And after that show of bloodthirst...
I can't win this.
Cyan murmured so that only I could hear him. Boro continued to close the distance between us as we were slowly backed up against a wall. However, Cyan's eyes showed no signs of giving up, and after fixing his hold on me...
You don't intend on taking back how you want to be used by me, right?
He whispered to me after taking out a test tube from his pocket. I didn't quite understand what he meant by his question, but... Right. You gonna, like, throw me in front of Lucas at the last second? Because that would really fuck up some shit! He'd be like, well, now she's dead, dumb fuck! My feelings back then weren't a lie, so I nodded gently. Cyan's face warped in the same way as when he was consuming the prisoners. And after I saw him fill his mouth with the liquid from the test tube, he gave me a kiss so fierce that it felt as though he was biting into me. He is poisoning me, but he is fucking... Why couldn't we have had a CJ of this? We had the cute little kiss on the forehead, but I want this passionate, like, death kiss. I felt a thick liquid, something bitter that came into my mouth from between his lips. He killed us both. I felt a sensation of disgust from the taste and feel of it, but my body was unable to reject it with my mouth covered. Ultimately, I swallowed down the liquid that was forced into my mouth, I normally hate it when they do that. Like, here, I'm going to drink tea and then feed it to you. Like, ew, it's like spit tea. That's disgusting. But now you're going to, like, poison yourself and shove poison down my throat. Like, I'll take it. Listen, I want to see this death kiss. And then, as Boros stood there in front of us, confused by what just happened,
Am I to let you be taken by another man? Then die for me here and now, Spacey.
huh? Like, this is unhinged, but I'm still here for it. Without any hesitation, Cyan tossed me at him.
What?
Shocked, Boro hurriedly threw his halberd aside and rushed at me. He then caught me with both arms as if to protect me. In the next moment, a mist of toxins only I could see covered my surroundings. Oh, he put some stuff in me so that I'm gonna, like, literally amp up my toxins and kill. And Lucas is already on the way out, so this is bad. After inhaling the mist, Boro collapsed where he stood. From his mouth trickled reddish-black blood, signaling the end of his life. This is even hotter, though. I thought you were going to give me poison. You gave me whatever to kill someone else. You know, hot, Cyan. It's fucked up, but, like, I'll accept it. You're unhinged. I knew right away that this was because his chromosomes were becoming tainted by the toxins I released. Cyan Broface, what did you do to her?
I unleashed her telepathy abilities to their maximum strength using a drug. I've made improvements to strengthen my own lungs, so I'll be able to withstand it to a degree. As for you, Boro, I'm sure it's painful since your chromosomes were already contaminated.
He bit his lip with frustration, but he couldn't move with his body, having already absorbed the toxins. Spitting up even more blood, Boro collapsed and no longer moved. I'm surprised they didn't just reveal that it was Lucas. Like, you already know it's Lucas, so you know what I mean? Like, they should have had that reveal here. I slid out of his arms and crashed to the floor. Cyan slowly walked up to me and, not fearing the toxins I release, he knelt over me and looked at my face, and I really wish we had gotten a CG of that death kiss.
The process is complete. All that's left is to draw your blood to create the clones, and the experiment will be complete. That said, the capsule meant to contain your toxins is broken now. At this rate, I might die as well while finishing things up. Cyan took out the dagger from his pocket and put it against my throat, hard enough to cut off my ability to breathe. He's gonna kill me. Even though I couldn't feel anything, I knew the blade was cold to the touch. No, I didn't want you to use me like this. Unable to form my lament into words, all that came out of me were whistles of pained breaths. Thinking those were my final words, Cyan smiled gently. Farewell, then. You were the most obedient test subject I could have asked for.
Oh, that's fucked. And then he kills me. Okay. Well, I mean, he was going to kill me either way. And with no sadness or joy, he indifferently extracted the last of my utility. Well, shit. And that's kind of coming from the better end, too, that he's like, whatever! And yet, and that's kind of fucked up, because if you think about it, that ending came from out of the ending where this happened, where he's like, you know, hey, I brought you back and I made a clone of you because I fucking missed you and I kind of love you. But, like, but I don't love you, whatever. You're going to fall in love with me. And then it's like, which one of us is going to fall in love with each other first? You know what I mean? Like, he knows it's inevitable. And, like, it's so romantic and beautiful. But all it took was one wrong move for him to be like, whatever, and just, this disappeared and went back to the psycho. Holy shit. Like, that's insane. Oh my god, but this, oh, dear god. It is funny, because her eyes are not normally the same color as Cyan's, and they are, like, in this. But, like, because you always have the blue glow in the center. That's how you know relivers, but everybody's eyes are different colors, and her eyes were always like a blue color, weren't they? Like, so it is weird that it's like Cyan's like, oh, my, eyes that look like his or whatever, when it's like, we never had the same color eyes as him. Her eyes were always blue. So why would they have changed when he made her a reliver? Because, like, look at Dahut. His eyes are purple just like Salame's. Even though we changed her appearance, I think, to hide her as Catherine, her eyes are still purple like Dahut's. It's not like everybody who becomes a reliver has these same colored eyes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, like, really odd. It's an odd touch, and I'm not quite sure why they opted for that, really. Because it doesn't quite fit with what you think of as, like, standard, like, canon. Because, again, like, if everybody's eyes turned and looked, I mean, again, like, the pupil being, like, that glowing turquoisey, like, the aqua kind of color, yeah, that, but everybody's irises are always whatever color they were, So why are ours different? Regardless, whatever, weird choice, but, still, I did almost die. I did die. I'm dead now. We're never coming. Like, Jesus. And now we got to do the despair part, which will start not tomorrow, but the day after. Like, right now we're doing every other day, but, like, that was a good choice because, like, I'm definitely even getting further behind. I'm at this point, like, now I don't know if I can just record the things I need to do doing every other day before I go on vacation. With the way things have been going, oh my God, and how behind I am, and the night being able to record at normal times. Like, it's 6:30 at night right now, and normally, like, if I was gonna, like, be recording past 6 o'clock, I would have done 3 hours, and I only did 2. But these parts were both kind of long, to be fair, so fair enough. This one was almost an hour and a half. So, anyway, I love this CG. This was the best fucking ending I could have ever fucking hoped for out of the encore story, based on what it was. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe. See you later.